It's no secret that a pet and its owner will form a special bond over the years, and it's one that people who don't own animals may never understand. Pets truly become vital members of a family. This was exactly the case for a retired veteran named Guy Cole, who'd raised his senior golden retriever from puppyhood. Over the years, the two forged an unbreakable bond that was tested in a major way. Guy Cole knew all about the loyalty that dogs possess. After the 74-year-old veteran retired and settled down in Massachusetts with his wife, Adele, Guy adopted a golden retriever puppy he named Toby. Guy had quite an eventful life before retirement. He'd served in the United States Army during the Vietnam War, and he was a corrections officer in Connecticut after that. He always knew he'd get a dog after retiring, and when he found Toby, the pair hit it off immediately. Over the years, Guy and Toby grew close. After Adele passed away in 2014, the two formed an even stronger bond. They truly became each other's best friends, and Toby would eventually prove it in quite the heroic fashion. Guy chose Webster, Massachusetts, as his place of retirement because it was a small, close-knit community that offered him a stress-free day-to-day routine. It was exactly what he wanted. Webster was also the perfect location to raise Toby. Guy would walk his four-legged best bud all around town, and everyone they met thoroughly enjoyed their company, humans and animals alike. One of Guy's close friends, another dog owner named Frank Alsta, vividly remembered an encounter with Guy's golden retriever in early 2018 that he'd never forget. It proved how far Toby was willing to go to help Guy in a time of need. Frank lived about half a mile away from Guy. One afternoon, Frank heard frantic barking at his back door, and he knew something was wrong. When he checked, there was Toby pawing at his screen door. Frank was in shock. The dog had traveled the full half-mile of dirt road between their homes just to get Frank's attention. By the way Toby was acting, Frank knew someone was in trouble, and he feared that it was Guy. Frank called 911 and pleaded with paramedics to check up on his friend. When rescuers finally arrived, they found Guy in need of urgent medical attention. Tragically, too much time had passed, and there was little doctors could do to help. Guy passed away after he was transported to the hospital, and no one would have even known something was wrong if Toby hadn't made the trek to Frank's house. When interviewed later, Frank couldn't say enough kind words about Toby. "I hope my dogs do that for me," he said. What the town couldn't stop talking about was that Toby inherently understood when Guy was in trouble and knew he had to help. Although Guy ultimately did not survive the day, his bond with Toby was exemplified by the dog's actions. The entire town of Webster acknowledged Toby's courageous actions, and the Webster Police Department even posted a heartfelt message on their Facebook page, praising the canine's heroism. It garnered over 1,000 shares and 130 comments in no time at all. As news of Guy's passing spread, friends came forward to share more stories of the bond between the veteran and his beloved golden retriever. Richard Tetreault, a longtime friend of Guy's, had his own incredible story to share about Toby. In mid-2017, Richard had been walking along a back road in Webster when Toby suddenly appeared without his owner. Richard was shocked to see him all alone, and he was concerned. Was Toby lost? Richard had to find out. After following Toby for a little while, Richard began to assume something was wrong. By the time they made it to Guy's home, Richard's fears were confirmed. Toby brought Richard to a horrific scene. Upon arriving, Richard found his friend lying face down on the floor. He immediately called an ambulance, and Guy was rushed to the hospital. The doctors were able to save Guy's life that day, and it was all because of Toby. By all accounts, it seemed that Toby routinely took it upon himself to venture into town, all alone to get help for Guy when he needed it. Not every dog would have known to do so, but Toby was no ordinary canine. For a man who'd spent years of his life fighting for the freedoms of the United States, it seemed only fitting that, in his time of need, a loyal and steadfast companion would be fighting for him just as fearlessly. Toby and Guy were truly an unstoppable team. In one final touching gesture, Toby was mentioned in Guy's obituary as the man's first living relative. Rest assured, Toby is now in the care of Guy's extended family, and they're helping each other through the grieving process. Even though Toby's efforts the second time around weren't enough to save Guy's life, The beloved golden retriever will always be remembered for the fearless actions he took for his best friend. It's not every day you find an animal with such a strong connection to their owner. Guy and Toby shared something special that went much deeper than a typical pet and owner relationship, and that will never be forgotten. I hope you like this video, then please hit the subscribe button and click on bell icon to never miss the video from our channel.